Good evening, everyone. And as we are waiting for everybody to join in,
breaks are such welcome, time.
You could introduce yourselves on the chat. Where are you from? Which part of the country or the world as well? And or feel free to even unmute and greet everybody on the fellow Zoomers, I would say. Hi Pushpa, Suparna, hi Paul.
Oh, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Hi Parveen, good evening.
Hi, hi Sonia.
Hi.
Yeah, this is the way to meet people.
Long time. It's so lovely to know that you're here.
Last we were at Bandra. We had met at Kavita's house only.
That was during
almost a year when that lady had come who was doing math workshops. Remember?
Yeah, Susan.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we did the teacher performance at your school.
God, it's been a year.
Yeah, we're doing that online now, though. Hi, Meena.
I can see Paul also.
Yes. You can see Paul's picture, not Paul.
Yeah. Picture is better than the real Paul.
Hey, come on.
Leave that for us to decide.
The lockdown has changed people.
We are becoming more accepting of who we are.
Okay, now Paul has to prove that by switching on his
Paul,
screen.
there's a lot of pressure now.
Yeah, last year I was supposed to come to your school, remember? And
I know.
Got cancelled last November.
I know, Parveen.
In Gurgaon, Delhi. Let's see when
I know. But this is anyways not the right time to go there. So you're safe where you are. I think everybody's just safe where they are.
Hi, Meena.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Yeah. For once, we don't have a meeting on the day of the Adhyan Educational Leaders. We have been so much into marketing our DP that all the Saturdays are lost with that only.
Right.
Neha, is my audio?
No, Sonia, you're actually breaking. Sonia, I think you're frozen. Yeah. Sonia, your audio wasn't clear. Huh?
Can you hear me?
Now it's better. Yeah.
Now it's better? Just wait a minute.
So another minute more and we begin. Yeah. feel free to introduce yourself and where are you from in the chat. And that's something that you can keep doing. Great. So I would like to officially welcome everybody to the community of practice, which is a space for all of us educators to collaborate. And it's great to see everyone here on a Saturday. And I know it's in the middle of the Diwali break. So it's nice that some of us have taken that time out. And as Meena just shared that because she didn't have school, she's able to make it. So I'm glad that it's working out for some of us to be here in spite of it being a Diwali break. And it's great to see that we're all here to discuss, to hear things, and to, of course, take back, some insights. Just to introduce myself, I'm Neha Chheda, and been interested in education since 20 years. And my major experience, education experience, has been as a part of setting up of Shishuvan School ICSE, part of the setting up team, and then went on to lead it as its principal and then director. And after 16 years, it was the next logical step was to deep dive and work with Adhyayan, who has been working pan-India. So as a lead assessor, as well as facilitator, have traveled the length and breadth of this country and have enjoyed meeting educators through all our programs. And with me, we also have Kavita Anand, who's the co-founder of Adhyayan. I'm not sure if Kavita's video is on or off. Looks off right now. Shruti, who's here and is in charge of all the communications at Adhyayan and is into strategic planning. And Annette, who's the backbone and support, because you know how important operations are whenever you have to plan anything, even if it's a small session online. So welcome from the entire Adhyayan team to everyone. Would like to invite Shruti to just share a bit about the community of practice.
Sure. What to say? To start with, I think this community led by practitioners themselves, this professional community of practice is an effort to bring in thought leaders, both in Indian and international communities, and school leaders together to discuss issues of current relevance to educators, and what better and what more relevant in these current times than the topic of leadership in uncertainty, leadership in these uncertain times. Now this is spread across sectors, but it's so more relevant in education at this moment. And it's an honor to kind of co-host this session with Neha and Kavita. And just to give you a brief about how this professional practice has actually emerged into a powerful platform for educators to share and learn from each other. So far, we've had about 9 sessions covering about 1,231 participants from across 200 schools across 17 countries. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have these illumined educators with us to share their best practices. So I would now hand it over to Neha to welcome Sonia and kickstart the session.
Thanks, Shruti. So just to set the context, I think we all know how uncertain the times are at this point. Today, when I opened the newspaper in the morning, I'm sure all of you have seen Maharashtra was gearing to to start schools on Monday. And there you go, it's set up till 31st December, don't even talk about it. The same's happening with UP, Haryana, Rajasthan, everywhere they're imposing more curbs. And so I think just like where we were 6 months ago when we, started off everyone trying to struggle for, okay, we have loads of questions. What are the answers? What are the solutions? I think this seems to be an ongoing process. And while we don't have answers for everything, what we definitely have is we have a community of educators along with us, right? So we are all there. And I think these are key. What the pandemic probably has done best is actually brought everybody together. And it has also proved a point that no matter how advanced a country you are, right? We are all equal at this point in time. It doesn't really matter. And so we're all here together, discussing, finding out what has worked, what's not working, what are the things that you'd like to discuss, probably going back, trying out, and coming back and talking about it. And that's what's building this community of practice. So on this note, would like to take the session ahead. We started with the first episode on leadership, in times of uncertainty, where we had Parveen. We had three speakers, and Parveen Shubhankar, as well as from Jain Vidyalay. So we had this whole conversation about, hearing from the three different schools about their school journey. And today we have, two leaders with us, and that's Sonia Mawani from Shiv Nadar and Priya Dasgupta from the Angels Education Trust. So as we go ahead, I'd just like to introduce Sonia. Sonia started a career in 1996 with Diamond Jubilee. She has had lots of, she's worked with Aga Khan Education Services in different capacities, and went on to get her international experience in Hyderabad. And now she's at Shiv Nadar since 2017. She heads the primary years, K-12, and is responsible for collaboratively reviewing and creating a school development plan based on the standards and practices. And also as a part of the senior leadership team, she helps to guide the Teaching and Learning Council in matters related to students' learning outcomes. Adhyan and Sonia go a long way, and Sonia is a lead assessor with Adhyan, has traveled again the length and breadth of this country, conducting, reviews, meeting people, training for professional, teacher professional reviews based on self-assessments and classroom observations. So welcome, Sonia. It's great to have you, and the stage is all yours. Over to you.
Thanks, Neha, for bringing back all the memories of all that I've done, or, it's been a long time. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Great. So good evening, fellow educators, and thank you, Adhyan, for giving me this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to be back in this forum where I get to meet educators from diverse backgrounds within our country, and it's lovely to share this space. So before I begin sharing my screen, and I don't know suddenly what's happened because I can only see myself. Right, I'm back.
No, that's because I put you on spotlight. I'm going to take it out so that you don't get confused.
I'm fine. So I'm going to share, take a few minutes and share my experience of the last 6 to 9 months, and and on hindsight, when I look back, and on my reflection, all I can share at this point is that the feeling that I have at this moment is that I was not alone in it. We went through our ups and downs in the whole journey, but at every point I felt that I'm not alone. We are a team and we are in it together. And that somehow has kept the whole momentum going. And with that, so when I got this invitation from Kavita saying, would you like to share? And I started thinking, okay, so of course, we've been reviewing our own work every now and then, but I hadn't asked my team, what did they feel about my leadership in these times? So I went back to them and I said, would you like to share your experience of how you've experienced leadership in these times, and the way, how has it helped you or hampered your own engagement with what you're doing? So so that's something I will share with you towards the end, where there's just a couple of my teachers who've shared their experience. So I'll end with that. And now if I can just share here my experience as a leader in the last couple of months. So we know that we were all quite unaware, right? Are you able to see my screen?
It's loading. Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So so we all knew that, okay, we will need some strong tech tools to be able to continue with a virtual classroom. Of course, initially we thought it's a temporary phase, we'll get over it. Zoom was a familiar platform mainly because in Delhi we had gone through this very abrupt holidays due to pollution and riots. So Zoom always came to our rescue. And so we teachers knew how to use Zoom. That was about it, and we could continue with that with our students.
Sonia, if I may just interrupt, sorry, if you could just give a little background about your school.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
so that everybody knows where are you.
Right. So I am the head of the primary years with Shivnada School, Noida. There are about 3 schools in the network in Gurgaon and Faridabad as well. It's a CBSE school, but we have the IBTP program now, and we are also looking at the our middle years and the senior years being we are offering the option of IGCSE now, and eventually we might look at PYP, but that's again a conversation that we are having at this moment. So yes, it's a school. We are a network of schools, and we have a core office or a core team who supports us in the various decisions that we take. Yes, and we have a very clear standards and practices documents that help us guide with our in our planning and reviewing our own practices on a day-to-day basis. Right, Neha?
Yes, that's
Is that
great.
good enough?
Thank
All right.
you.
Right. So, so I'm so when this whole process started, and there was this whole, everybody was looking up to the leader to say, okay, what next? How do we manage this? I must admit that I'm not an expert in the tech field, and I was nervous because I did not know of the options that I could offer my team. However, what I did was I got in touch with my colleagues in other schools, asking them, what are you doing? And then I could bring some options to my team on the table to say, okay, we have this option of using Seesaw, somebody's using Flipgrid, Google Classroom, all these platforms and apps were available. And at that point, I had to let go and let the young teachers who are more tech savvy take on, explore, and come back to say, ma'am, this works, this one has got better features, this will work for us. And collectively, we were able to decide that let's narrow it down to Seesaw. And I think it was the best decision we took, because today, and for all these months, Seesaw has been an extremely stable platform for us and the students and parents, where we could assign them assignments and students could share it back with their teachers. Very child-friendly platform, especially for younger years. And we were constantly able to give feedback to our children. So that worked really well. And the learning for me was that, A, to admit that I'm not an expert, B, allow the young team to take over in these matters because they had the expertise, and trust them, and then collectively take a decision. So that's something that we did together. One thing that I remember doing was, around that time, there was a lot of confusion around, everybody was talking to each other. Our school parents were talking to parents of different schools. So were the students and the teachers. And everybody had an opinion on what a good online classroom should look like. Some schools said that they had 4 hours of synchronous time, and some had 5, and some had 3. And so there was a lot of commotion and confusion around will be the next steps. And it was around this time that I thought I needed to come in. And I must also admit that it was because of my experience with Adhyayan, and as a lead assessor going to various schools, I realized that it's important at every time that all the stakeholders have a common understanding of what are the next steps. And we, we have a common goal. So at that point, I took a lead and I started communicating to my teachers, to my parents, to the other stakeholders in the community, to my management team, that this is how we are going to move. I don't know if I can go down. Neha, can you see the screen? I can't go to the next screen somehow.
No, we can see the screen, but it's not going to the next one.
Yeah, I wonder why. Okay, I'm going to stop share and see if I can do it again. 1 minute, right?
Do you want me to share it?
I don't want the PDF version. I think that's what's creating the problem.
Okay, I have the PDF.
Let me see. If I can get the bar out here.
Yeah, that's a PPT.
Yeah, can you?
Yes, you've got it.
I'll
Yeah.
just go into the present.
Yes.
Yeah. So I must admit again, these are all skills I've learned along the way. Right up till now, right. So, so I remember telling my team that less is more, because I realized that everybody was rushing and trying to figure out what's next, and trying to overdo sometimes. And I'm sure this has been your experience also as educators in these times, where we've seen our children take more and more charge of their learning. And when that was happening, it was important for us as teachers to step back and allow children to decide their pace. Because while some children are fine with the kind of screen time that they're having, there are many children who do not want this kind of screen time and are okay with off-screen work assignments. So we needed to again look at our own design, instructional design. And through my monthly newsletters to parents, I remember writing them that, less is more, and how it's important for us to teach less so that students can learn more. Also something like how we need to go slow so that we can go fast, because everybody needs time to adapt. So I thought this was the context that I had provided to my team, and also asked the parents to stop comparing our school with other schools. And then I realized that it was important for me to take a parent orientation. So we immediately went into conducting parent orientations and letting our parents know why we are doing what we're doing. If we have 2 hours of synchronous time, why is that? And gave them a good rationale by sharing some of the best international practices and research with them, and laying out all the learning outcomes and clearly stating that this is the practical reality and this is what we should be expecting from the program, from the school, and from and how it's good for the overall well-being of all the stakeholders that we take it slow. So yes, we had to work slowly and get everybody on board. So my again, the learning here was that it was important to orient the parents about the learning design. And I must admit that it would not have happened if we did not have a relationship that we had built over the years with the parent community that really paid the dividends in these trying times. So yes, I mean, that's what, on hindsight, that's what I can think of and how we sailed through that process. Now, leading a virtual school is a challenge for everyone, I'm sure. Okay, am I audible now? Because I can't see anybody and I feel that I'm talking to myself.
Sonia, we can hear you very well.
Great, great. So this running a virtual school was a challenge for everyone. So we also have school management, we have our director of education, we have the entire team we have a standards team from the core who supports us. And suddenly everybody wanted to know that how are we running the school? Where is the link? How can I visit the class? And it is during those times, I think as a leader, I had to manage both my own teams who were nervous and, in the beginning, because they had never led an online class. And for me to tell my management higher ups that, just hang on, wait, let teachers take the lead, because initially I didn't go into their classrooms. They needed time to, set their pace, make themselves comfortable before having people, suddenly observing them. So that was a bit of a challenge for me to say that, hang on, we will share the links from next week onwards, let my team settle down. So it was important for me to play that mediation role. But yes, what was important was, as I said, my regular communication with all the stakeholders. I've already spoken about the parent orientation. I write my monthly newsletter to parents where it is, very contextually, I tell them what is happening in the school by sharing about what's happening in the classrooms. Sometimes I also share about what are my teachers doing, because as you can see, that's a snapshot of one of the latest newsletter where I'm telling the parents how we believe in continuous professional development. And those are few of my teachers who've participated in various webinars and have conducted some sessions or read some papers and have won some awards. And that's what I'm letting the parent community know that, behind the scenes, we are equally working hard. The whole team is working. Then something called the monthly status. When we had the physical school and everything was visible and tangible, not many people in the management asked about the reports, because they could see it. But here, suddenly, everybody wanted to know that, send us reports, let us know what's happening. And again, I must thank, my experience with Adhyayan, that I knew it was a good practice to keep your reports ready, whether somebody asked them for it or not. And it just came handy, because suddenly the management wanted a monthly status report, and we were anyways keeping it ready. So that really helped. We gradually moved to our monthly grade assemblies. Like when we had a physical school, we had weekly assemblies for every form where, every child felt that they were part of a larger school. But now with these virtual classrooms, what was happening was especially my younger children, grade 2 and 3, they would meet only in groups of 15. So for a long period, they felt that, this is their only class and where is the school? So then we started having this monthly assemblies where we had all 150 students of grade 2 or grade 3 all meeting for that 1 hour assembly. So that gradually fell in place, and children felt that, yes, they are part of the larger school. Another very important practice that really helped us, gave us feedback about what our stakeholders are experiencing or feeling or thinking, were the various surveys that we conducted on a regular basis. We did our parent surveys, teacher surveys, and student surveys. Now, parents could tell us what they felt about the synchronous, asynchronous time, the seesaw tasks, and the feedback always helps us to then make course correction along the way. Our teachers, when we did the survey, our teachers told us that, they're completely exhausted with this, with the lines being completely blurred between the home and school domain, and how some of them felt that they wanted a proper end of day, which they could not experience because sometimes the emails would come around 5 or 6 in the evening. And so this feedback helped us to then put our communication protocol in place to say that, okay, unless urgent, let's not send any emails post the school hours. So these are some of the actions that we undertook. And we've just conducted the student surveys, and we are waiting for the data so that we can then take our next steps. What you see in the next snapshot there is just a little glimpse of the school development plan, right? So we, as a team, we looked at, okay, so what does 2021 mean for us? And if we have to have a few actionables and tangibles visible to everybody, then we need to specify it or articulate it for all. But was again another important lesson that we learned along the way was that every stakeholder's voice is important. And this temperature check that we did through surveys it was essential for us to understand what each one of them, they were feeling or thinking. And, after all, I mean, everybody felt good because everybody wanted to feel heard and acknowledged. And, our teachers felt that, they were part of the decision-making process, and that made them feel, again, I'll share with you, our focus was on safety and well-being of all the stakeholders, and well-being of our teachers was extremely important to us. I'll come to that. I'll just talk about the school development plan now. The next step was that let's talk about the focus of the year. So while we were in the process of setting targets for 2021, my brief to my teachers and the parent community also was that this year we're going to focus on these areas. So what was important was the safety and well-being of all the stakeholders, as I said. Because of these times that we are in, people are going through a lot of emotional turmoil, sometimes, the things happening in the families. So this was the focus, safety and well-being. We looked at how we could use data that's coming up in various departments and domains, and how we could use that data and have a tech integration committee to look at how we can ease this whole process of communication on this virtual platform. Our curriculum and learning focus for this year was geared towards personalized learning, because increasingly we are realizing that one size fits all is not working. I mean, it of course, it wasn't something which we believed in the physical space as well, but more so in the virtual space. It's more children who are telling us that, this is how I learn best. And we are exploring and experimenting, I must say, with how we can make this personalized learning more relevant for the children as well as all the teachers as well. And community and partnership is something which I think in these times we've been able to really exploit it to its maximum, because these are the times when people are at home and they can communicate, they can come into your classrooms. So this being the focus, my team went ahead and they created the 6 committees. So these were the 6 committees that were created, and the best thing was that the anchors of these committees, which were the middle level leaders, sent out a mail to all the teaching community to say that, would you like to volunteer to be part of these committees? And the teachers volunteered. And today we have about 6 to 7 members in each of these committees. Now this has really worked beautifully because A, they have volunteered. B, they're experiencing that they have a voice in decision making of, in the larger school decision making process. And they have some more knowledge and experience or expertise to offer in these committees. So it's just a win-win situation for all of us. And I mean, that's what the feedback I got from my team. And on an ongoing basis, I must say that communication has been the key. And these are just some of the meetings that we have on a regular basis. I mean, I have my weekly meetings with the senior leadership team, where it is the head of early years, primary years, middle and senior school, vice principal and the principal. We meet on a weekly basis. Then there's a primary school leadership committee. There's a monthly staff meeting, departmental meetings. So these forums are extremely important because it gives an opportunity for everyone to have a voice in what they are experiencing and, be part of the larger decision-making process.
Sonia, I hate to do this, but I would just request you to kind of wind up within the next.
Sure. So Shruti, I think I am done. I'm just going to leave you with, as I said earlier, my team had just shared their experience. So if I could just play that for you, and then I'm done.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sonia.
So I'm going to go back to my drive. Yes. Let me know if you can hear me. I mean, if you can hear me.
Leadership begins with leading yourself.
Yes, you can put it on full
in the current
screen.
context. Self-awareness, empathy, and a growth mindset are useful attributes to imbibe as a leader. Over the past 9 months, when the world turned upside down, the relentless support of my leaders and thoughtfully designed processes, for example, having regular conferences at all levels, whether team meetings, subcommittee meetings, or leadership meetings, helped us sail through the uncharted waters due to effective communication and collaboration, as I was able to take decisions and be there for my team as students, as well as students. There are days when you feel overwhelmed and confused, but hope being the cornerstone of our organization and inspirational role models to look up to, I managed to discover the silver lining. So as leaders, keep alive, charge, take action, and keep
learning, absorbing, adapting, and delivering for us in the Grade 4 team. The very first newsletter from our primary head, Ms. Mawani, highlighting less is more, set the tone for the year.
I'm sure we all agree that a leader leads by example. In the primary, especially, I would like to bring to your notice something that has worked really well in terms of distributed leadership, the constitution of committees, and we have some committees running, which has members from across the board. Leadership committee, we have the community, we have the safety and well-being committee, tech integration, data analysis, as well as library-led initiatives committee. So I would say that having these committees and each one of them having their goals, which are very specific, however, are aligned to the commons, has made it possible for us to make progress in every aspect of a school development.
After a long time, this year has been transitional in my career as I got the opportunity of being a member of the Curriculum and Learning Subcommittee. The conversations conducted in these meetings, the study material shared to read, and the discussions post reading has led me to learn a lot of new things. It has led me to develop new insights about the value of students' reflection, metacognition, and self assessment after each class. It helped me see the significance of students' voice and choice and led me to plan and conduct all my lessons in a very different way. Personal development plan for each teacher is a great initiative taken up this year. These readings and webinars help me to see teaching from a very different perspective and impacts all my lessons.
In these difficult and uncertain times, the leadership at Shivnadar School has helped me as an educator by providing me with a lot of support in terms of technical know-how and the freedom and the ability to do what is right for my learners in my homeroom. Whenever I have reached out as a facilitator to the technical team, they have always been there to answer all my questions. And the technical team was the brainchild of Sonia ma'am, our primary head. If she hadn't come up with this idea of having these little support teams in our primary school, whom we could reach out to at any point of time, it would have been extremely difficult to get through these extremely volatile times. Thank you so much.
Right. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia, for a very, very engaging session and bringing out the aspect of, communication being the key so clearly. I think the key takeaways that we can look at uh, from your session is one, communication with all the stakeholders, whether it be parents, the management, the students, teachers, the internal and the external teams that we're talking about in the school ecosystem. I think that is the key. And just not just the communication, because it is taken more as a lip service, but then when we say communication, having a structure built around it and effectively and consistently having it perform with a specific target and a goal is what is the most important thing. And thank you for bringing that to the fore. And with that, I'd like to introduce to the participants our second key member who's going to speak today. That's Priya. And Priya Dasgupta has been in the field of education over 15 years now, and in her current role as the coordinator for the Angels Education Trust. In the last 10 years, she's been, interacting with the trust and coordinates the running of 2 schools that the trust supports. One of her key responsibilities in her profile is to interact with these stakeholders and addressing their concerns by formulating policies with the help of the school leaders. Adhyayan Education Trust, Adhyayan and Angels Education Trust have been closely associated with each other in the last 4 years, where we've looked at setting up of the international school and supporting their school leaders and teachers in the area of their professional development. On this note, Priya, thank you for being here with us, and welcome to the session. It's over to you.
Thanks, Shruti. Thanks, Adhyayan and Neha, for having me. First and foremost, it's a privilege to be here amongst all of you people here, all of us educators. And compared to the rest of the people here, I think I have relatively zero experience, so to say. But it's always been a great learning experience whenever we come into another webinar. Let me first start by saying that I'm sure all of us completely resonate with whatever Sonia and her team have been going through, have had the learnings in the past 6 to 8 months. So I don't want to dwell much on that. But yes, Sonia, I do get that. And I think all of us do come pretty much on the same page, at least where our struggles are concerned, if not our progresses. But yeah, so it was great hearing from you. One fine day, Neha just calls up and says that, why don't you share about how are you dealing with parents and how are you dealing with school, with your school fees? Okay, so before going into that, let me just give you a brief background about the schools that the Angels Education Trust runs. We are over 60 years old in the field of education, and we have a state board school that's equally that old. We started the international school about 2 years ago, so a baby there. And we've been, I think, one of the prominent schools in our locality for a state board curriculum. And we've always been known for giving quality education at not so great a fee hike or fee structure. So the kind of parents that we cater to are middle class parents, everyday going, two income group parents. So that's the kind of parent structure that we look at. And like I said, our fee structure is not exceptionally high. And given that, the school has always run on the support of the parents. The school gets no funding from anybody. We are an SSE board school. Secondary section is an aided section. And as most of you are familiar, aided means nothing, right? The school and the trust doesn't get anything except the teacher salaries, which go directly to the teachers. But the primary section and the KG section are the parents that actually support the school financially. So given that, in this situation, in this past 8 months, I'm sure all of you have been struggling too. We've been struggling a lot with fee collection. So when I spoke to this, I was sharing this with Neha. So she said that, you have to share this with everybody. I'm sure there is some kind of solution which all of us can come together and figure out some way to help each other. So just want to share about what we have been doing to kind of accelerate that fee collection. We all know as school leaders, fee collection is, however, we can be empathetic, we are concerned about everybody's situation, but we have to run the school, right? And if we have to run the school, you have to pay your teachers. And if we have to pay your teachers, then you need the fee collection. And that's, as most of you may be aware, that's where most of the salaries come out of. So what we decided, so initially we did the regular thing, like, sending out circulars, reminding parents, say once a week through the PTA. So we communicate to the parents, especially on for official purposes, through the PTA. We have a strong PTA, so which kind of helps us communicate with the parents. So we did the regular thing about, communicating to the parents via the PTA, occasionally meeting the parents, asking the teachers to talk to the parents. We saw that that really wasn't getting much of there wasn't much fee collection happening with that kind of a situation. So about 2 months back, we decided that some members of the trust and the school, the section head, and myself, we would meet a handful of parents every day. And so we'd pick out like about 10-15 parents every day. And this activity has just been given a break for the Diwali, which we start again by Monday again. But morning, afternoon, evening, we would pick out like 10-15 parents, and we get on a Zoom call and just talk to them. Like, of course, I tell them why we are doing this and why they need to pay the fees, because most parents refuse to understand why we need to pay fees, especially when school is happening only for an hour, hour and a half for the little ones, and even for the older children, not too long, given the stringent guidelines that the government says that you cannot have so much screen time. Yes, so given all that, then we had a set of parents that would say that, school is not really happening. We are not going physically to the school. Why do you need this fee? Why do you need that fee? Teachers are working only for so many hours. So all those kind of addresses, all those kind of questions, we personally answered with every single parent that we called. We explained to them what are the expenses, what exactly. We tried to be as transparent as possible. We explained to them which kind of expenses are being incurred, irrespective of whether the child is coming into the school or not coming into the school. Things like, obviously, the first thing is the salary, and we have to upkeep the building. So you have your building maintenance, your taxes, or your electricity bills, your basic infrastructure maintenance. We kept trying to make them understand that these things are essential, because eventually when your child will come back, you don't want a school that has got not been in a good condition that it was before the lockdown. So we tried to be as transparent, like I said, and when we did this, of course, there's always a set of parents that say, but no, you don't really need to spend on this and that. But what we've tried to explain to all of them as to why we need to do this. And happy to say that every time, like after every meeting that we've had, we've always had a trickle in of a little fees. I won't say it was a huge pour in, But given the option, so yes, we did give the parents another option of breaking down the fees into smaller payments, just to ease the burden. So every time when we met, and after after that meeting, we would always see that there would be a handful of parents who would go ahead and pay that fee. So who would come to school and ask, like, how can I pay these fees? Because by then our school office had started. We started functioning in June. Um so we thought that this kind of worked, and we continue to do that. But then, of course, there is a little lull in the collection again, and we are somehow, trying to figure out how we need to take this forward. Just to give you, like, I don't have anything to show you, but just to give you a fair idea of in terms of numbers. Like I said, our primary school is the only school that is the part of the school that is not aided, wherein fee collection comes in. So we have about 550 children, and till date, now we've been sending fee circulars since May. So it's been what, like 8 months now? No, yeah, 11 months. Yeah, okay, 8 months. And we have still a 15% of parents who have not paid a single rupee. And these are the tough nuts that, I'm kind of looking for some kind of assistance to how to crack these people and, like, kind of get through and say, why you need to pay this fee. But at the same time, I have to say that, like I said, the secondary section is an aided section. They don't pay fees, but we do collect for certain services that we have been doing even during the lockdown period. That after these one-on-one meetings with the trustees, uh, I would say about 80% have paid those fees. So that has been it's a very small collection for the year, but like it's still, it has worked. So meeting these parents has helped. And with the trusts, the trust has a treasurer and the secretary and the chairperson. So all these people would join these meetings and personally talk to the parents. Um, I think being transparent to the parent helped us quite a bit. Uh, that's something that I think we should continue. And I think this was one major learning that through this lockdown period, yes, we were open with the parents. Yes, nothing was under the carpet or so to say before the lockdown. But given this lockdown, given everybody's situation, we had to become more transparent, and that I think was one major learning for me, that we have to pull in everybody together and see how to take this forward. Um, so another thing that we did explain to the parents also was how the teachers are working and how they are available, and how the school has been spending on the teacher training, because that doesn't stop, lockdown or no lockdown, right? So that was something that, and the parents were, you could see the parents could see the results that the teacher was performing. And like I've always told the teachers, like, it's no longer just the school leader who's going to be observing you in your classroom. It's going to be your parents who's going to be observing you, and that's your final test. So, by hook or crook, they just end up performing, right? So that kind of has worked. Uh, so. Yeah, so that's and then we also did go into a detailed explanation with the parents about the kind of work that teachers are giving the children if they are when they are not online, when their children are not online, because we definitely don't want the children online for a long period of time, continuously for a long period of time. So um, that yeah, so, like the main the point here I'm trying to make is that when we are transparent with the parents, we have got results. I'm just waiting for a better result in a couple of days to in the next by the end of the year. Um, right. I I think that's about what I'd like to share. So if there's anything that anyone would like to ask, I'm sure available. Yeah, Shruti? Shruti, I think you're on mute.
I'm so sorry. It's been 8 months and since you're still getting used to this.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that, an open heart-to-heart kind of an experience sharing in terms of what your school and you as a team have gone through. But I think the common thing that has come out today from both of you, Sonia, and you sharing, how as leaders you've dealt with these uncertain times, the key has been communication, right? Whether Sonia talked about communication with all the stakeholders, here you're talking about an intense communication that you did with parents one-on-one, and being able to bring out the transparency factor so clearly, and that being the key. So I think for us the takeaway today has been all about communication. Thank you so much. And then I hand over the session to Neha to take it forward.
Yeah, thank you, Sonia and Priya. And I would say the floor is open for a couple of minutes. If anybody has any question, you want to put it on the chat, any reflection, anything that you want to ask Sonia or Priya. Yeah, you've already had some comments on the chat about each of your, distributed leadership, intense communication. Parveen is asking about reopening plans. Yes, Colonel Shekhar.
Yeah. It's been fascinating hearing both of you. I hope you can see my reasonably gray hair. Good evening to all of you. Yeah. My simple question, how good is online learning? The feedback I have got, the interactions I have done, it is more somewhat of an inflated gas balloon, and we are doing it. It's great just because we want to sustain ourselves. Candid response, how effective has it been? Both of you or anyone.
Yeah, so I think what Colonel Shekhar invites is responses could be on the chat as well. And anybody would like to, Priya, Sonia, if you would also like to speak about it. And while you're doing this, I'm also going to launch a side poll for everybody that gives us a little bit of insight into what continue to be people's challenges in these uncertain times. Yeah. And that can continue.
Right.
Sonia, yes.
Yeah. I would definitely say that especially for the younger children, the physical proximity, touch, and being in the same physical space is extremely important and valuable, and it has its merits. However, during these times, as you say, we're just making the most of the situation and doing the best we can.
No,
yes.
I made this. Yeah, Priya, come ahead, and I have some strong views on that. That's why. Please go ahead.
Right. So I think, I think most of us believe here that education obviously is just not from the books. I think everybody, every stakeholder has had a different kind of learning. If for example, let me just say that people who were never used to technology have become, I won't say tech savvy, use the word savvy so boldly, but they're able to maneuver it. And I also feel that parents have started being more involved. I'm making a very bold claim here. I don't want to say that all parents are not involved, but I think parents are more involved now because especially with little ones, they have to be there when the class is there, right? And there is no way that they're going to let the child just sit there and do, go on by himself or herself. And also the children, I think, have learned to become a bit more independent. And there are, I'm sure, 100 cases wherein the children are teaching the parents. So I feel that children have definitely gained that sense of independence. I can do this. I mean, I'm taking assessments over online. So what's the big deal? Is what the child.
And that's exactly what I think Parveen is also saying, that children are really learning to become independent.
Right.
And I'm going to add one question here. Is also I'm picking up from what Priya had asked actually as a question to everybody, was she has some tough nuts to crack, and I'm sure all of us have been talking with parents and finding different ways. Does anyone have a solution to offer, or anything that you have tried has worked and you would want, something that Priya could also take away from everybody?
Sorry, I missed part of it because my connection went right, but I have a very simple point.
Colonel Shekhar, just a minute. Sorry, I think when you went off, we kind of spoke about yes, how students are also kind of becoming independent learners, and how they're also supporting the parents along with everybody else learning.
Yeah.
And the second bit that we shared about was the question that Priya had raised during when she was sharing, was about how do you connect with parents, as she described them to be like the tough nuts to crack.
Yeah.
So would you have some suggestion, and
Thank
anybody
you.
would like to offer a suggestion or solution or something you have tried, and that would be very useful for Priya.
Yeah, I just answer Priya. Sama, Dana, Bheda, and Dand. I have never seen any other options working. You consistently talk to them. Some of them, it's almost like Trump supporters. They do not believe that Joe Biden has won in despite a lakh and a half votes. And I mean, you have to understand, I speak to schools all over. One, say in Tamil Nadu, for example, parents do not want to send the children for the rest of the school year because they want to save the money. Two, the government is going to go into an election, so they are interested in keeping these people happy. Nobody quite thinks any other way. You go to Rajasthan, they have the panchayat elections and they have cut it by 75. I had a school head saying, we are due 50 crores, what do I do? So the point, what has happened is there has been a perfect storm. Parents have got together to say that let's now fix these so-called, sorry for the language, it starts with S and ends with BSOB schools. We'll sort out the private schools. And there is a very organized system working. That's one part. The second part of it is, and that's something which I am very worried about, principals have not shown leadership in the vast majority of cases. People sitting here are different. I have found that teachers have lost their jobs, things have happened. Principals have not stood up to the trustees and groups and said, this is not possible, or working out options. I'm harsh about it and I've seen it happen. And the third aspect, which again, we are living in a fool's paradise world, is we as teachers and everyone else, we are saying that because of online learning, we have created a few more Nobel Prize winners. I'm exaggerating. If you are looking for 10 learning outcomes face to face, online you are getting 5, and the children are learning 2 or 3. So
I'm sure
I'm used
that,
to saying, yeah,
yes.
that's what I feel, and I'm
Colonel
not going to
Shekhar,
keep my
I think
mouth.
we will definitely probably discuss this in another forum also, in terms of what the children are actually learning and really learning. So I'm sure, Priya, if there are some suggestions, please put them on the chat. It will be really useful, and I'm sure the suggestions are useful for everybody here, right? So we can definitely do that. Sonia, do you want to share something?
Yeah,
please.
2 things. One is, Priya, what has worked with us is, for those tough parents, is that, the body of parents who are convinced and aligned to our vision, they usually speak to them and give them enough examples and experiences And that really helps us, where we don't have to really go that mile and justify ourselves. So I don't know if that can help in your case. Somebody in the chat also wrote about, I think Padma, she wrote about children are losing interest and what is to be done. And I did mention about the change in the instructional design of what we are doing, how we need to stop teaching so that children can learn, because children are able and are taking more and more responsibility of their learning. We need to be able to offer them choices and different pathways of learning. So yes, we have a curriculum to complete, but can we not give children choices in how they would like to learn? And can we not offer different pathways where if few children we know in our classroom are able to show their understanding even without attending our synchronous classes, can we not say, all right, not everybody needs to attend all the classes for all 3 hours? So in our school, we are experimenting. I'm not saying we are all there, but we are looking at multiple designs of learning which suits different kinds of learners. And somebody talked about how children have become more tech savvy. I must share this example. It's my grade 3 child from the economically weaker section, which is the neighborhood children. And a few months ago, they did not have devices. And now with the devices, an 8-year-old child writes a text to his teacher, he's able to send a Google Meet link and say that, ma'am, could I meet you at this time? Because these are the questions I have. And I thought that was wow of, student agency in action. So yes, we've seen this shift.
Fantastic. And, the poll that we ran alongside, I'm sharing the results. I hope people can see that, which says that what continue to be the challenges in this team that we are all identifying. And that says that motivating and building emotional resilience amongst all stakeholders, that continues to be a challenge, right? And definitely where we have built a relationship with the stakeholders, it definitely comes, to our, I would say, advantage, because where there is a culture, we do find the connect to be easier. But we're all learning, and and even if we haven't been able to connect very well in the past, we're all learning to do that even now. And that's been, I think, the great thing. Just like Priya shared, you're talking to every stakeholder at this point in time, every parent. And the next one is responding to constantly changing circumstances. I salute everyone who's running a school right now to say the way in which you have to constantly respond to it. And like today, newspapers just threw me off, and I don't know what's going to come on Monday and then the following week. So I think this is going to be quite an uncertain time for a very long time. And we're all definitely working towards it. And close to that, I think our equals were managing our own anxiety, our own personal, professional anxiety, adapting, quickly, providing relevant support to all stakeholders. Everything is important as a leader for all of us, but these are definitely all the challenges that we are all facing and trying to cope with this. So thank you for sharing this, and I'm sure that you found some takeaway from today's session, and we definitely value your feedback, which is what we have put, we put the Padlet link. Some of us were here last session, and Kavita had shared the Shackleton case study last time. And I think we've had Parveen from Somaya, who had shared the case study with her team as well, right, with the teacher team. So I'm going to put the link here for everybody else also, while Parveen could take a couple of minutes for all of us and just let us know what her experience has been, and let everybody discover the learning too, right? So I'm going to take a minute and put that in till Parveen kind of shares that. Yeah.
Last time after the COP was getting over, Kavita put that link, and I always wanted to do a course from Harvard, but it's always very expensive. This was a free module, and the beauty of this module was that it was very short. So normally teachers do not have patience to do a very long module. So first I did the module. I found it very relevant because first of all, they were talking about resilience in the time of crisis like this. So leadership and resilience. And the example that was shared was not directly related to school. So that was quite a fresh perspective. It was talking about Ernest Shackleton's expedition to Antarctic and how he faced difficulties and how he survived. And while you do that module, you realize the similarity that he faced in his situation and we are facing right now, even though both the scenarios are very, very different. And how do you become a resilient leader? So I had a lot of takeaways from that short module, and it's very, very effective. And I would really urge everybody to do that and ask your team members also to do. And what I did, I shared it with my immediate leadership team, and then I shared it with all teachers. And everybody who did that short module, wrote back to me on my personal chat saying, ma'am, thank you for sharing. This was such a nice module and they learned so much. And they were in their mind comparing their situation of Corona with his case study. And it was very, very effective. So 3 big takeaways. I don't want to be give them the spoiler. I think they should read or do the course. But I found it really, in fact, I have shared it with not just people in the field of education, but it applies to just anybody who is in a situation of crisis and managing a team. So excellent. And I'm looking forward to some more resources today.
That was a good one, Parveen.
Yeah, so thank you, Parveen, for sharing that. And I'm sure that's going to motivate everybody to also access this resource and, try it out yourself and then share it with your team. I will really look forward to your feedback on Padlet, because we are also asking you in terms of what is it that, you would like to come forward and share some of the practices that you have been trying out in your school, something that's been working really well, some questions that are still lurking, and we will try and make that happen for you and for the rest of the community here as well. So on this note, I think we will be closing the session. Yeah, so we have the feedback link there. I've shared the Shackleton and the Harvard link. Parveen, a resource next time, definitely.
So looking forward.
Thank you. Yes. Kavita, would you like to say something towards the end? You've been completely silent. Okay, I'm not sure if she's in a place where she can actually unmute and talk as well. Yeah, okay. She's on the road. That's all. That's fine. So thank you very much for being there. And I hope we're looking forward to, we meet twice every month on 2 Saturdays. And so to look forward to seeing everybody here next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
everyone. Bye-bye.
We've had friends coming in from the Northeast as well. Thank you for joining in.